Hello, this is Mike Van Meter. Welcome to Recovery is Possible podcast. I want to thank you for joining me, and you can reach us at our Facebook site, which is also called Recovery is Possible, or our website, which is vanmeterwellnesssolutions.com. This episode is sponsored by FHE Health, a substance abuse and mental health treatment center specializing in treatment for first responders' needs, including PTSD, anxiety, and substance use. Take the first steps to a better life today by visiting fhehealth.com. So one of the things that we run into in recovery is relapse. Relapse is not something that has to happen, but it does. Unfortunately, it happens more often than not. And the important thing is that if you relapse, to come back, to put your boots back on, so to speak, get back on the horse and get back into trying again, and to celebrate the amount of time that you got, because we know that every day sober is difficult, particularly early on in the program in particular. And that's the important thing, is to keep coming back and keep trying and learning from what happened. Because earlier in this podcast series, I did a podcast on the 5-year cycle, meaning in those first 5 years of recovery, what is your body going through? What is your mind going through? Because we know that addiction is a disease of not only the body, but of the brain. And the whole time that your body is trying to get well and rebalance, your brain's telling you that you don't have a problem. And so this is the disease that tells you that you don't have a disease. And that's what makes it especially difficult. And I know that in my own journey, that first 30 days was the most difficult part. I'll be honest with you, I'm close to 9 years now, but that first year was much more difficult than it is now. And that's just because, your body rebalances. You develop a program of recovery that works for you, works on your own. And it just gets easier over time. It does not mean that you ever let your guard down. In fact, I think in my own recovery, that's the challenge that I have, is to always remember that I cannot go back and to forever be vigilant. So we had Katrina from Florida talk to us a couple weeks ago about reaching the 30-day mark, and that is such a fantastic accomplishment. It is. But like a lot of people, Katrina had a relapse here recently, and she was willing to come back and talk to us about it so we can all learn, and she can learn from it. And with that, we have Katrina on the line. Katrina, welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Well, tell us what happened. Kind of walk through what happened with relapse, because you did have 30 days, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, I was 67. I actually had picked up my 60-day chip like a week prior.
Wow. So what happened? Walk us through it.
Well, kind of like you said, you can't let your guard down. I had quit taking my Antabuse. And this sounds really kind of weird, but it's actually kind of like I planned to relapse, even though I really didn't plan to relapse, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because looking back, it's been a week now since I relapsed. I think it was last weekend I went drinking. I had to quit taking my Antabuse. And then I had to kind of keep track of the days I wasn't taking it to make sure I wasn't going to get violently ill.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at one point I lost track of how long I had been off of it. And then, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my sponsor. I didn't tell my husband. In the back of my head, I was thinking, well, the Antabuse has become a crutch and I can't take it forever. So why not stop now? Bad idea. And I was at a bonfire with some friends, just hanging out, having a grand old time. And they were drinking. And normally in the first few months or whatever, it didn't really bother me. I was like, they can drink. I can't. They're not like me. It's okay. And this night, for whatever reason, the beer sounded really good. I stopped fighting the urge and, started off just having a little sip, and I swished it around in my mouth and spit it back out, trying to make sure I wasn't going to get sick. And nothing happened after that. So, then I just started drinking. And then, of course, before I knew it, I don't even know how many I had that night. But yeah, so that's what happened. And then I know Tuesday I was going to be you guys had the Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
and
Tuesday night meeting.
I didn't log in. And apparently, I guess everybody knows when an alcoholic goes silent, that's never a good thing. I just felt so guilty, so shameful. I could not believe that I slipped up, and 67 days just gone.
Yeah.
went back to isolating myself, didn't talk to anybody. Didn't even, like I said, didn't even get on the Zoom call. And that's when I think you texted me, Marianne texted me, and I was like, no, I can't get on. I can't. But I did.
I have to say, I was kind of shaming you into coming to the meeting too, wasn't I?
Yeah.
I said,
okay,
because you said you were going to get on, and then you had the blank screen, and I said, well, there must be. It looks awfully dark in that room because I don't see your picture. You're not calling. Is there something? I didn't even get my phone checked out because I know you're not ignoring me. I'm texting you, and you're not getting on.
Yeah.
So there must be something wrong with my phone. Hey, but you came back. That's the important thing.
I did. And I think that's part of it, is just like sucking up the pride and just being like, hey, you know what? I screwed up, but here I am. I got to try again. It's like being a horseback rider. When you fall off the horse, you get right back on.
Yeah.
As much as you don't want to, as much as you're afraid to kind of confront it, you have to.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that I got back on that meeting, and been going back to meetings in person down here. And back on my interviews.
Yeah.
It sucks that it happened, but definitely a learning experience. If I had any doubt in my mind about like how, I guess, addictive and just how serious alcoholism is, like, there's no doubt now. And I just keep thinking how lucky I am that nothing really happened that night. Like, I made it home and everything was fine and nobody got hurt. But yeah, I mean, alcohol definitely had a hold of me that night and won the fight.
Well, and so it's interesting because I've talked about this before, that when we talk about it won the fight, and just think about how you phrase that. I've always talked about addiction as being almost like a spiritual being. And I'm not getting weird religious on people. I'm just saying I know that that's the feeling. And maybe, Katrina, you can relate to this too. It feels like you're in a fight with a person, doesn't it? Right?
Absolutely,
it feels like you're wrestling with a person. And you wrestled, you were wrestling every day. Mm-hmm. And then on that particular day, you wrestled, but it won. And it's funny because that's how we talk about people, right? That's how we wrestle people. We don't wrestle things. We wrestle people,
right?
Or living things. You can wrestle a gorilla. You can wrestle anything. We can wrestle spirits. But that's how it feels. And those of you that are listening that struggle with this probably can relate to that feeling of wrestling this being, this thing. It talks to you. And it won that day, right?
Yep.
And
it's almost like you're in a fight with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a voice inside your head. Because the fact is, you didn't, I mean, let's be honest. The decision to drink really was not made during the bonfire. No, it was really not made that night. It was days probably, maybe even a couple weeks prior to that, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I had to plan for it. I had to come off the interviews. I had to think, okay, well, how many days has it been since I've been off of it? Am I going to get sick? So yeah, I mean, as much as I really didn't plan on relapsing, I did.
Well, what's important in all this is that you go back, and each time we relapse, and in my own history, I had many, many relapses, but I did learn from each one of them. And I think in this one, there's a lot to learn, a lot of takeaways, and I have my own thoughts, I have my own opinions about, from watching you from afar, what my opinions were. No, I mean to be honest with you, it's you see it. If you're around recovery enough, you see it in people. You're not unusual in that regard. But let me ask you first, and walking back on it, like if you could rewind time, what were the things that were happening, and what would you do differently today to kind of intercede before it happened?
What was happening?
Because 67 days is a fair amount of time. That's a fair amount of time.
Yeah, I know. I was excited.
Yeah, and you should be. You should be. But somewhere in there, something started creeping in, and what was that?
Probably just going through like the emotional stuff, like starting to feel things that I haven't really had to deal with sober before. Coming up on the year anniversary of my dad's passing at the end of this month. And I think just kind of thinking about that and thinking about other emotional things that, as alcoholics drink, so we don't have to do that. Just made me like, okay, I just need to drink. I don't know.
Yeah, it's dealing with the emotional part. Is this the first anniversary of your father passing away?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so that's a big event, right? Big event.
The whole month has been huge because we had what would have been his 71st birthday, him and my mom's 50th wedding anniversary, and his anniversary all in the same month.
Okay.
So
there's the emotions, right? And so as we've said before, the 12-step programs are designed, and a lot of people don't understand this. 12-step programs are not designed to keep you or to stop you from drinking. They're actually
Correct.
designed to keep you from starting drinking. And that sounds very nuanced, but it's actually not. It's designed to keep you from starting drinking, and a lot of people don't understand that. And so what the 12 steps are designed to do is help you deal with emotions differently than what you did in the past. Because what we do in the past is we have a big anniversary like this. We have something coming up, and our way of dealing with that is to numb it out by drinking.
Yep.
So now we have to find new ways of dealing with that. And this is very new. It's very fresh to you. And it's a matter of, and you've not been through all of the 12. You couldn't in 67 days. Couldn't possibly. You could not have been through the 12 steps in any meaningful, correct and meaning deep in a deep way. So that's completely understandable. So
that's probably
that was it.
part of it. That's probably part of it as well. Is that I had just started working the 4th step.
Yeah.
Going through all like the resentments and fears and all that good stuff, and it's like, oh wow, that hurts. Thinking about people who I know I should forgive and get over, that I'm just like, no, I can't. Like, that person really like hurt me or really screwed me over. And, how dare I have to think of them as being ill themselves, and how dare I have to forgive them? It's tough. It's really hard. Yeah.
Well, and in fairness, that part of the part of what you're talking about is actually much later in the program. That's steps 8 and 9 that you're talking about. And but you know what? But that's something that again, lessons learned. You see, you're thinking ahead, and you're thinking, well, I've got to make that list of people that I've harmed, and I've got to go make direct amends to them. That's 8 and 9. But you're on step 4, right? And the problem is that the steps are in order, and they're in order for a reason. So we are ready when that time comes to execute that step. The problem is that a lot of people come in, and I see this a lot with people I work with. They come in and they understand step 1, right? I'm powerless over alcohol. My life's become unmanageable. Powerlessness, unmanageability. They get it. I mean, that's why you're there, right? Powerless, unmanageability. It's like, I got no problem with that, right? And then, like a week later, they're like, oh, I get it. I can't drink. This is fantastic. They call it the pink cloud. I'm riding that pink cloud, and it's all great, and that's awesome. And you know what? I was really crappy when I was drinking and drugging, and I know I burned every bridge out there, and I made a lot of enemies. You know what? I'm going to go tell them how sorry I am. So I'm going to run out, and I'm going to do that right now. Wait a minute. That's so what happens is, people do step 1, they do step 9, which is amends, and then step 12 is to go out and spread the message to everybody else. So it's like, okay, I get it. I'm powerless. My life's unmanageable. I'm really sorry. And hey, you should do this too. So that's 1, 9, and 12. Problem is, there's a whole lot of other steps there.
Yep, exactly.
that we just glossed right over or didn't even look at. And the problem is that at this stage of the game, early part of the game, we aren't ready to go make amends, and they aren't ready to hear amends. We got some work to do. So again, that's a very, very common thing that we see. So so you're seeing that, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
So what else? What else did you notice?
Well, I noticed like when I was the first 60 something days, I was like so much happier, so much clearer. It was just awesome. And then once I did drink, it was just like this really horrible guilt. Like I couldn't let anybody know because I was so ashamed of what had happened. That was probably why I didn't get on the Zoom call. Probably why I isolated myself and, didn't talk to anybody. And of course, like I know darn good and well, I could have called my sponsor. All I had to do was pick up the phone. But there's that whole like pride thing, you know?
Which we all have. We all have that. Yep.
Yep. You know, calling and asking for help. It's like, yeah, I could call them, but if I do, they're just going to try to talk me out of it and I'm going to drink. Really weird how like I didn't want to drink, but I did want to drink. And I just gave in more to the, I'm going to go ahead and drink. And anybody that has any amount of time under their belt, I strongly suggest don't give into it. The guilt and shame is awful. Like it's really bad.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, and maybe you can relate to this. I heard it once said that, and we're talking about AA here, and I want to make it very clear to the listeners that, you know, we're talking about AA because that's the program that Katrina is referring to. But if you're working another program out there and it's working for you, by all means, stick with that. But we are talking AA here. I heard it once said that once you get a dose of AA, you go to an AA meeting and you listen to what the solution is, your drinking is just never the same.
No, it's not.
You never, I mean, I know I didn't. And by the way, I drank for a long time after I went to my first AA meeting, but it was never the same for me after that because it was like, I knew once you've been exposed to the truth of what's going on with you and you know it and you know that it's the truth, but you're not living the truth. I never enjoyed, I could never really enjoy my drinking again after that. Did you feel that way?
I did. I totally did. I know there's a solution out there and I chose to ignore it. While I was drinking, like all I could think about honestly was like, oh my gosh, like I just threw away however many days and okay, well now do I have to go pick up another white surrender chip? Do I have to go back to saying, hi, my name's Katrina and I'm an alcoholic every meeting for the next 30 days? I mean, that's all I could think about while I was drinking. It wasn't as fun.
Yeah.
And even like that night going to sleep, I was just, like I said, just, you know, shame and remorse, like almost in tears. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that, to get up and go out and do it again the very next morning. That's the disease.
Yeah.
You know, trying to get rid of that guilt, shame and all that. And then same thing, you know, drinking didn't get rid of any of that. It was just like, okay, great. Well, now here I have to go tell them again.
Well, it seems like it actually, whatever problems you had going on that led to you drinking are still there, but now you just added some problems, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I felt about it. And when I got into sobriety, it was, and even the next day, you know, depending on your work situation, if you're, you know, nobody's going into offices now, but, you know, I was going into offices and I used to really feel self-conscious about, because, you know, when you're drinking that much, you know, like I would drink a lot the night before and then I would go to work and let's say they had a 7 a.m. or an 8 a.m. meeting and you'd have to be in a room full of people. And I was always just very paranoid. Like, can they smell it on me? You know, that day after type of, you know, where they could smell it. And I always remember that, which just gave me a lot of anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, now you might have all kinds of problems with me. You may think I'm incompetent at work. You may have a lot of problems with me. But I'll tell you what, the one problem you're not going to have is me smelling like alcohol the next day. So at least it removes that anxiety from it, you know? So,
yeah, I know I was like trying to even hide it from my husband. So, you know, even coming home from the party that night, you know, I stopped and I grabbed like Tic Tacs or Mentos or whatever. Cause I'm just like, can't smell it on me. He's going to be so disappointed. And that's the other thing is like worrying about what other people think. Like my husband has been nothing but supportive of me through all of this. And then to come home and be like, oh my gosh, like I got to hide this from him. And then of course, you know, I can't hide it from him, your husband for long. So of course I told him and it was like, okay, honey, don't beat me up any more than I'm beating myself up. And, you know, just to disappoint him, you know, when he's been nothing but supportive of me through all of this, was hard.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, what was he disappointed or does he understand the seriousness of the disease?
I think a little bit of both. I think he really was disappointed in me, or for me is, I think, a better way to word it, disappointed for me. He's starting to understand a little bit. Not being an alcoholic himself, I don't think he realizes like how hard it really is. He knows it's difficult. And I know every step of the way he kept telling me, hey, you're doing great. Don't give up now. he actually is making sure I take my Antabuse now, looking over my shoulder, making sure that I take it. Cause I know he likes me being sober. So yeah, more like disappointed for me, not in me, I should say.
Yeah. And that's an interesting concept because when I say interesting concept, the idea of your husband being involved in helping you take your medication, because that's interesting, because that's also the same tactic that I used. Again, people do different things, but that was a tactic that I had used. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that for everyone. Everybody's situation is different. Some people are exceedingly private about their recovery, and nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. What I did was actually kind of the opposite. You see, because really my drinking, or the people around me, my drinking wasn't a secret. Like, who is this a secret to? Like, they all knew it. They all wanted me to get help. And so when I got help, what was it like? Okay, all of a sudden this is a secret?
Right, yeah.
And so in my world, my wife was definitely involved, and my wife is a recovery warrior. She's a big Al-Anon and big recovery warrior. But even the people that were close to me at work, I made sure that they knew, if they didn't already knew, but I made it clear to them that I was in recovery and I was serious about it. And the reason why I did that is because we traveled a lot, particularly my early days in recovery. We traveled around the world. I went overseas, and, when you go over to certain parts of the world, drinking is just very much part of the culture. On the airplanes, even you take international flights, they give you alcohol. We would do training with agencies overseas, and they would drink during the day, during the day in the training that we were providing, and they would provide alcohol. And I made sure that the people that I was traveling with, my coworkers, knew that I was in recovery, so they could, they wouldn't tempt me, and they could assist me in getting out of those precarious situations, and it worked for me. But again, that's a personal decision. So I'm glad that your husband is helpful. And for the people that are listening, if you have people in your life that can help in that, it's a great benefit. Because do you think that really has helped you like that 67 days that you got? Was your husband a big part of that?
Oh yeah, he's been a big help. From like, hey, we can't go to this restaurant because you're going to want to drink, to the Super Bowl. Hey, we're not going to go to a Super Bowl party. We're going to stay here at the house. Yeah. That way you're not tempted to drink.
Is that what you guys did during the Super Bowl?
Yep. Just hung out at the house, the two of us, and just on the couch, watched TV, had popcorn, and enjoyed the game. Yeah. And I actually remember who won.
Well, you're in Florida too, so
yeah.
And by the way, if this is years down the road, people are listening to this podcast. The Buccaneers did win this year, so that's why I say that.
Tom Brady's number 7.
That's right. Oh, and I grew up in Florida, and I remember when I was a kid, the Buccaneers started, and they were horrible back then. Oh my gosh. So it's good to see where they are now. Well, we're going to let me just put in this word from our sponsor, and then we'll talk about where we're going to go from here. Katrina, how's that?
Works for me.
All right. So this episode is sponsored by FHE Health. FHE Health has been providing life-changing behavioral health services for more than 20 years. They treat substance abuse and mental health disorders in an individualized and comprehensive approach. Recognizing the specialized treatment needs of the first responder community, they've created Shatterproof, a dedicated program for law enforcement, fire, rescue, and similar communities to receive the treatment among their peers. They're experienced in providing privacy and working with unions for employment. FHE Health is committed to providing the best care experience for our patients, for their families, and for our community. Learn more at fhehealth.com. That's fhehealth.com, and they really do have a good program. So, Katrina, so a lot of lessons learned, and what I really, really like about you is that you have responded to the suggestions, and that was a big problem with me, and a big problem with most of the people I work with is when they go out and relapse, we don't see them again. That's typically what happens. But you, on the other hand, show that desire, and you came back. I knew that you were embarrassed. I knew, but that's so typical of it. I was the same way because you know what, Katrina, and maybe get your thoughts on this. We've talked about this before. that people look at addiction as being a moral issue, meaning like you screwed up. And in fact, to be honest, you even used that term tonight. I screwed up and I went out and I drank. Okay.
Yep.
And I think that's what we have to attack. It was not that you screwed up. You didn't screw up. You just are suffering from the disease that is of the mind and the body, and your mind is telling you that you don't have the disease, and it's coming at you. It's very unique in that it's not a matter of screwing up. It's just the disease itself. But what you are doing is you came back and said, okay, I'm going to start this again. And that is to be commended. And anybody out there that has gone through what Katrina has gone through, understand it's not the end. Just get back up. You know, it's not about being knocked down in life. It's not what you do when you get knocked down. It's what you do when you get back up, or if you get back up, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
And you got back up, and here you are, and you're back at it, and that is what is important.
And the cool thing is, when I did finally go to an in-person meeting here in Florida, of course, you know, you have to go, and like that whole, you know, rigorous honesty thing that it talks about in the big book, and that we read from the forms every meeting. You really have to be. Without that rigorous honesty, like the program's not going to work. I stepped back in the rooms, and I had to do, like I mentioned before, the whole, you know, my name's Katrina and I'm an alcoholic within my first 30 days again. Most of the people there I know, and nobody looked at me like, oh, how dare you? Or, you know, like, oh yeah, okay, well, you're not going to make it. Everybody was just happy that I was there. Yeah. I mean, truly happy, welcoming me back with open arms. And the topic for the night was even on relapse. And people were like, look, you know, you were only out for a few days. That's awesome that you got back so quick. Like, most people don't get that opportunity to come back.
That's true. That's true.
And that really stuck with me too, because it's like, wow, you know, yeah, I got lucky. Nothing happened. I got lucky that I can come back and I can sit in this chair and I can listen to these people and learn from them and learn from my mistakes and help others hopefully learn from my mistakes. And that's just the power of God right there.
It is. And they are absolutely right. And there is no judgment whatsoever. Did anybody judge you in that meeting?
None. Not a single person.
And when you came on our Zoom, now you're talking about a meeting in Florida, and then you came to the, now I have to admit, I kind of shamed you into coming to our meeting.
Hey, whatever it takes, right?
But for our audience, you know, our audience has to know that I'm retired law enforcement, and so is Katrina, okay? And that's just how we treat each other. It's on out of love. We just kind of shame each other into doing things. But the shame was to get you to the meeting. And then once you were at the meeting, then did you feel any judgment at all once you were there?
None at all.
Yeah.
None at all. Even like towards the end of the meeting, people were waving, saying hi. So that was really cool. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's always good to see people come, and everybody in that room, because the Zoom meeting that we have, I know most of those people pretty well. They've all gone through it, and they've all gone through their own relapses. And it's just, so what will you do moving forward? And we'll kind of wrap up with this. Moving forward with the lessons that you learned from this experience, what are you going to do differently?
I'm not going to be so prideful. What's that saying? Pride goes before the fall. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to suck it up. And regardless of how bad I want to drink and want to do things my own way, I'm going to pick up that phone. Nobody on the other end of the phone can force me to do anything I don't want to do, but they can be there, and I can tell them what's going on, and we can talk through it. I think you've told me before, most urges don't last but maybe 15 minutes usually. Mm-hmm. So I can talk on the phone for 15 minutes and hope it passes. And if not, well, I'm sure you, Marianne, or even some of the girls down here won't mind staying on the phone with me for however long it takes. So yeah, that would be the big thing. And if I do decide to go to a little hangout party with people, with friends, I just have to make sure that somebody there, I can tell them, hey, look, this is going to be really hard for me. Please help keep an eye on me, babysit me. Don't care how childish it is. Don't let me drink. I know ultimately it's my responsibility, but it doesn't help to have the accountability. And if it's that tough of a day, then I'm just not going to go hang out. I'll just come home
or leave early, right? You can always leave. Yeah,
exactly.
There are manuals, and just so you know, Katrina, and for anybody that's listening, there is literature out there that actually talks about the different ways, different methods, different tools that you can utilize, particularly in early recovery. Different techniques that you can use about, don't go if you feel like that you're not, we call it the spiritual condition. If you don't feel spiritually ready to go into different areas, because oftentimes there's that question. I get asked it all the time. Hey, so does this mean, Mike, that you're alcoholic, you're in recovery? Can you can't go to parties, you can't go to bars, you can't, is that right? And the answer is no, that's actually not true at all. We don't shy away from events where there's alcohol. I don't anymore. But it's all contingent upon your spiritual fitness is what we talk about. Are you spiritually ready? So notice that. You notice how spirituality keeps coming back into play here. And if I'm not spiritually fit, if I feel uneasy, if I have a lot of things going on in my life, like, what happened with you, with the anniversary of your father's death coming up, you're probably not spiritually fit right now because you have that emotional instability, those emotions going through. So maybe it's not a good time, okay? And right. I've had that. My entire first year was that. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything. But now today, I have business meetings in bars. I travel. I'll even sit with people and have meetings or even social functions where people are openly and drinking heavily in front of me. And I've not even felt tempted, but I only do that when I'm spiritually ready to do it. But again, those people also know that I'm in recovery. But you always have an exit strategy too. And that is when it becomes overwhelming, you just leave, leave.
Yep.
Making phone calls to sponsors and to people. That's another thing that you can do.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. You talked about the support of your husband. Fantastic. Medication. If you are on medication,
don't stop taking it.
No.
Bad decision. No. Bad call.
And by the way, now you're talking about antabuse, which helps you. It makes you ill if you drink on it. But a lot of other people will be taking antidepressants, or they'll be taking some sort of SSRIs or SRNIs and things like that. What people don't realize is that when you take some of those medications, oftentimes they are not even fully effective for like 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes a couple of months. And, those are things, you can't just take those and say, you know what, this isn't working, so I'm going to stop. No, it takes a while for that to take effect. And drinking on top of that really negates the effect.
Not a good call. No, think about alcohol as a depressant, and then you're taking an antidepressant. Yeah. Do the math.
Yeah, and it just disrupts the whole plan that you have.
Right.
Any other takeaways that you have?
Just don't be afraid to get back into a meeting. Don't be afraid to tell somebody. The quicker you can get back up, the easier it's going to be. Yeah,
I so agree. Well, I am so glad that you're back and doing it. And how many days you got now?
Tomorrow will be a week.
That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. Good for you. That is fantastic.
Yep. Hopefully we'll make it a little bit longer this time. But for now, that's the other thing too, is just take it one day at a time. Don't start looking at weeks, days, months. Just focus on today.
That's it. Because when you think of sobriety, you think, oh my God, I can't drink for the rest of my life or the next 30 years. Are you kidding me? The thing is, you just don't look at it in those terms. You look at it as, I'm just not going to drink today.
Exactly.
That's how you think about it.
I heard it in a meeting. I think it was the Thursday night meeting I went to. One guy looked at it a little different. He's like, when I want to drink, I just tell myself, not today. I can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
And then tomorrow comes and be like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to push it off again till tomorrow. That's like the only good thing of procrastination, I guess.
Recovery is the only time we're procrastinating. That's a great way of looking at it. This is the only time in your life where procrastinating actually is a good thing, right?
Exactly.
I'll just put it off. I keep putting it off, like everything else I put off. Well, why not put off my drinking?
There you go.
That's a great idea. Well, I am so glad that you're back, Katrina, and it's been a joy talking with you. And, once again, guys, this episode's been sponsored by FHE Health. According to SAMHSA, first responders are 30% more likely to develop behavioral health conditions like PTSD. FHE Health specializes in getting first responders better and cleared for duty. Find out more at fhehealth.com, fhehealth.com. And again, this is Recovery is Possible. I'm Mike Van Meter. Visit our Facebook page, and which is called Recovery is Possible, and our website, which is vanmeterwellnesssolutions.com. Katrina, thank you again for joining us, and we will talk to you next time.